This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? We are live with another late night agenda, and as always, thank you so much for giving up some of your time to come and have a chat with me. We're going to get stuck into the situation with Cody GAKPO. We're going to talk defensive midfielders. I'll give you the bit of information we got around BARCOLA and a few other bits and pieces. As always, any trolls watching, don't forget, you don't have to be here, so don't waste your time because they're not going to be read out. To the people that are in to find out as much as we can together, welcome. Great to have you in. We're going to talk tonight about, I want to start off the conversation actually, if I can, about a bit of a, I don't want to say disagreement, but a bit of a situation, shall we say, on X today. So Liverpool fans obviously seen Carragher Monday Night Football talking about Liverpool's midfield deficiencies, and the conversation with the DM's been going on for a while. But apparently our esteemed journalists covering the football club don't think there's any problem there or that Liverpool need to do anything there. I'll take you to one comment from David Lynch, who was replying to somebody who was discussing the situation about Liverpool not having defensive cover, and this is part of what David Lynch had to say tonight. I think people are going to have to get used to this idea that when you only have two centre midfielders, they're occasionally both going to be ahead of the ball. The protection will come from behind. Twitter absolutely obsessed with DMs. So apparently, according to Mr. Lynch there, it's just Twitter being obsessed with DMs. It's not that it's a glaring deficiency in the squad, and it's not that it makes them look very foolish saying that. No, it's just Twitter being obsessed, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't matter that Carragher seems to be also obsessed with it, and anybody with even a cursory knowledge of what Liverpool need will tell you we need a DM. But it's okay, because the lads are going to bat for the club again to let us all know that we're wrong, Twitter's obsessed, and the real football people don't think there's a need for a DM. But that doesn't explain why they were wanting to sell McAllister and bring one in. But hey, you know, we have to go with what the esteemed journalists say, don't we? So that's what we kicked off with tonight. A poll question for you guys, and we're asking, do you agree with our esteemed colleagues in the journalist world that Liverpool don't need a defensive midfielder or some variation of a defensive midfielder this summer's transfer window? So we'll leave that poll running for a little bit. I'm absolutely just losing the plot with these lads at this point. I mean, they either don't know football or they're just talking out their arse. It's one or the other, because I refuse to believe there's any other options available here. And also, if that is the case, why would David Lynch be talking in the past about Liverpool looking at up-and-coming young defensive midfielders? And I'll read you out a post just to give some balance to the conversation. So this was a post that said, Lamine Camara of Monaco and Orsilon's Mamadou Sangar were among the targeted players that Liverpool were watching closely. I mean, why would you be doing that if the system doesn't need a DM? It's almost as if you're full of shit, right? Now, I know that this gets their knickers in a twist and they all come and have a pop at me, fair enough, but somebody has to stand up for common sense here. Somebody has to say that we need a DM, because, my God, we need a DM. And if you're going to try and, pawn people off by saying Leone's going to be that guy, didn't get a minute yesterday, so clearly the manager doesn't feel he's ready to step into a big game yet. I love Trey Leone, but again, he should be an option that's brought in gradually over time, and not because the club are too cheap to go out and sign the players that the manager needs. So between that and James Pearce just basically misquoting the manager and misrepresenting what he said, and by the way, it wasn't just James Pearce, the Echo lads were at it as well, talking about the fact that apparently Andoni Iraola doesn't believe we need one in this system. Now, we never said it, but Apparently, I thought it was just us lads that do the misquoting. All the aggregators, all the also rans. No, it seems the journalists are jumping to it now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And look, I get that you can get a balance. I understand that side of it. You can have midfielders that can give a bit more of a balance. But ultimately, it's pretty clear we haven't replaced Fabinho and we're still struggling to this day. Because of one season we won the league with Gravenberch doesn't mean that we can just ignore the deficiencies that are there since. And it was pretty clear against Newcastle again that we get countered too easily and we do have too many players ahead of the ball and somebody needs to be there shielding the back four. And again, Jamie Carragher, Monday Night Football, was talking about exactly this. Let me read you out some of what Cara had to say and then we'll move into the BARCOLA stuff in a second. So, Carragher, speaking about Monday Night Football, or on Monday Night Football, had this to say about Liverpool's midfield. He said, "My fear is this window 12 months ago could set Liverpool back a year or two. It's arguably the worst transfer window we've seen in Premier League history." He went on to say as well, "These players, Isak and Wirtz, were supposed to be the ones creating a dynasty for Liverpool. Don't forget that Liverpool won the league 2 years ago. They were supposed to do what City have done the last few years, or United in the past, where they've won 2, 3 or 5 years. So, yeah, it's a bit mad, right? So, look, I'll get into the Carragher stuff a little bit later on, but just to talk about the BARCOLA situation, and this isn't words that you've heard me say before, so I am choosing them very carefully, and I am giving you the information as I received it. From what I can understand, everything, and I mean everything, is agreed between Liverpool and Paris Saint-Germain for the signing of Bradley BARCOLA, including the money side of it. Now, I don't know the figures. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I do. But people that we've spoken to today believe it's done and they're actually shocked at why it hasn't progressed yet. Now, I'm going to give you a comparable. Remember when Manchester City signed Gianluigi Donnarumma from Paris Saint-Germain? That was a deal that was agreed weeks in advance. But for some reason, and the word tax was brought up to me, I don't understand the ins and outs of the French tax system, but for some reason that deal also went and got done on deadline day. Now, I don't understand the logic of the delay. I don't understand why BARCOLA hasn't been announced sooner, brought over sooner, but I can tell you it's not from our side. It isn't from the Liverpool side of it. It's from the Paris Saint-Germain side of it. After that, folks, look, it's up to your good selves what way you want to take it, but that is the information that we've been given today by a few people, that everything is agreed, that the deal has been agreed, although I don't know the numbers, and it's been agreed for a little while. So apparently even the journalists covering it are a little bit confused as to why they keep getting told to get ready, but then the rug gets pulled and things slow down. So that's where we're at with it. If that's, I don't even know what else to say in it, because there is no fucking logical reason to it if everything has been agreed and it will get done. That's one thing, again, that keeps coming back again. It will get done, it will get done, it will get done. So yeah, after that, folks, up to you what you want to think. I don't understand, and nor do anybody I've spoken to understand the logic of why it is getting delayed. But again, look at the Gianluigi Donnarumma deal with PSG to Manchester City. Apparently that went in and got done on the end of it. Mr. A. Santino. So, I love you, bro. I appreciate all your input on the channel and that. But I'm getting a little bit tired of you saying it's not getting done and you're about to get blocked if you continue to do it. Because I'm telling you it's going to get done. You've known me for years. If you don't trust me, fine. But keep coming in every single day saying it's not going to get done, nothing's getting done, the club's getting sold, nothing's getting done. It's just not helpful, bro. It's just not. It's not helpful to people. It's not helpful to the situation. Cliff said, Craig, that doesn't make much sense. Again, I've told you from the very start of what I said tonight, I don't understand the tax implication or why it doesn't get done quicker. This isn't a question I can answer. But again, I'm trying to give you a comparable, and you can talk to people that were around the Manchester City deal. That was agreed 2 weeks before it was announced. Why it got announced so late and why this one's getting announced so late, I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. Like I said, a tax implication was brought up, but I don't know. I don't understand the ins and outs of it. Right, so I don't know what's going on here, but the super chats are not coming through on my end. So let me just have a look at this and try and figure it out. I don't know why they're not coming through, but they're not coming through today. I might have to message Connor on this one. Just bear with me, folks, because I want to make sure that I can get these sorted out for people. So I'm going to sign out and back in, and then we'll get back into it, because I've seen there was a couple there that I hadn't been able to bring up on screen. So bear with me. Hopefully they come up now for me. Sorry, folks, bear with me. Okay. Sorry, I had to message Connor in the background there because for some reason for me, our backup system isn't working and I can't bring the comments up on screen. So I'm going to just scroll back and go through and read out the couple of super chats that were there because I hate people not getting their stuff read out. Right, where are we at? So that was yesterday, I think. Stevie Boy said, can BARCOLA play as a DM? No, he can't, mate, unfortunately. Craig, how are you? I'm actually doing all right from Tiger Valley. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just a little bit confused as to why our system isn't working. Yeah, these are the type of things that throw the stream off for me and really frustrate me because it should be working. But anyway, let me get back into the normal chat for now. Okay. Right, starting to feel like MINTEH. It's the club's marquee signing. I really hope the BARCOLA deal gets done, but it definitely feels like the rug is about to be pulled. So if you think about it a different way, right? If you're going to say the rug is going to be pulled, whose benefit is that for? That's the question I'd have, because it's not benefiting PSG to keep him there when he wants to move away and they've already signed replacements. They're leaving him at a matchday squads. So I don't understand why you think the rug will be pulled and it's not going to happen. I just don't know why it hasn't been announced. That's all I'm trying to say here. Because when I was told that today, I was genuinely shocked. Because I've been somebody who's come on here and told you many times, I haven't got the information that it's all been agreed. I've said he was going to be agreed, but I never got told it was done until today. Yeah. If it's a certain done deal, why are we not hearing about it? Like, now you're just willfully choosing not to listen to me. I'm going to repeat it again, just so it's clear and you can come in. 1 second. Sorry, I need some information here from Connor about why the system isn't working. Yeah, so I'll tell you it again, just for people that are coming in a little bit late. So when I spoke to people today, every day I have my conversations. I try to get them in before I do the video at 4:30. Sometimes I can't get answers until a bit later in the day. So this evening when I was speaking to somebody and I was exchanging a few bits of information back and forth with them, one thing that became abundantly clear to me is that a lot of journalists have been told it's done and agreed, but they don't know why the rug keeps getting pulled about the delay. The word that was brought up today was something to do with a tax implication, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. And the people said to me, it was the same situation that happened when Gianluigi Donnarumma went from PSG to Manchester City, that it was agreed 2 weeks before that deal was signed off and announced, and it was done at the very, very end of the transfer window. Now, I honestly don't really remember the PSG to Gianluigi Donnarumma going to City because I wasn't paying attention to it because it was nothing to do with Liverpool. But that's what we've been told. I've never once told you that it is agreed. I've told you that it'll happen, but today I'm telling you it's agreed. That's the information that we have. Why it hasn't been announced, I haven't got a clue, and nor do the people that are covering the club. Nobody seems to know. They've been told to be ready 2 or 3 times and the rug got pulled. After that, your guess is as good as mine. Now remember, why would I be on here saying this to you if I didn't hear that? It's not in my benefit to come on because I knew what was going to happen when I told you this tonight. I knew the usual suspects were going to be in having a pop, but I can't make things go quicker. I can just tell you that it's absolutely done. That's it. Why it hasn't been announced or why they're dragging their heels on it, I don't know. But that's where we're at with it. So we'll move on and we'll talk about other stuff. But any questions, have a go in the comments and I'll do my best to get to them. Sorry. I'm going to sign back out and in. This back-end system's really frustrating me because it wrecks the stream for me and it puts my mind completely in an opposite direction, which isn't good enough. Yeah, this stuff really annoys me because it ruins the streams and it makes my job infinitely harder. And when you're paying a lot of money for a system, you certainly expect it to work, right? My worry is that two wingers will not fix teams can't run in straight through us. I get it, and I'm not in any way trying to defend the fact that we don't look as if we're getting a DM in. I mean, I'm in the camp that thinks we 100% need a DM. But again, I tried to explain why I don't think it's happening, and I don't know this for a fact, but my guess or my belief is that because they couldn't sell Maka. That's genuinely where my head's at with it. I feel like because there we go. Chat's coming through now. Blizzard said, disappointed to the slow start, expected more energy. Cool. Yeah, I'm the same. Look, it's not even a slow start. They've had 13 weeks of a window. We've had about 12 of them, and here we are. That's where we're at. Sorry. What do we talk about? This one from Bison said, I laugh at how much we all think alike, mate. For me tonight, it's simple. DM, 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 and fullbacks. We'll play better teams. We'll get carved apart. And we'll miss a Fabinho type player. I hope you're well. I agree. Like, we had these conversations as fans all the way back at the end of last season. And we all said the same thing. We had our own list. We worked through what the club needed. But the only logic that I can think of as to why they're not going after another type of midfielder is that they didn't sell Alexis McAllister. And that's the only thing that I can really, I don't even say justify it, because it doesn't justify it to me. But that's where we're at. And again, our club's a bit leaderless at the minute. FSG, nowhere to be seen. Richard Hughes disappearing to Saudi. Al Hilal seem to be getting deals worked on, but Liverpool still stumbling around trying to decide whether we're going to put the third bid in for Yankuba Minta or not. And again, the transfer window's ticking along and we've 8 days to go. So again, I understand it sounds so silly to come out and say the deal's agreed and PSG are dragging their heels on it. I get it. If I was in Liverpool's shoes, I'd be pissed off. If I was the journalist that were covering it, I'd be pissed off. But I can't tell you the logic behind it. The word tax just kept getting brought up. So look, this is how this is probably going to play out. The usual suspects will be in calling me everything under the sun. I'll be right. We'll come back in at the end of the window. The regular, normal people will go, fair play, you were right on it. And the trolls will be nowhere to be seen. So I get it. I understand when I come on to say these things, it's going to be met with some pushback from some people. But that's the honest situation and where I'm at with it. I could just sit on the information, play dumb and say, yeah, it's happening. Don't worry about it. Nothing to be concerned about. It will happen. But I got told today it's done and agreed. And that's the information I've given to you guys. What you choose to do with the information, believe it, don't believe it. Of course, that is entirely up to your good selves to do. And there's no hard feelings from me either way. That's where we have it at the minute, ladies and gents. And I'll answer any questions I can, but your guess is as good as mine after that. I want to have a conversation around the Isak and Vert situation a little bit as well. Where are we at with this one? Bison. Elks said, maybe later PSG pay less taxes. They have to pay BARCOLA. Like in terms of the contracts, you're spitballing here, but trust you, Craig, always have. I have no idea, not got a clue how the tax thing implements into it or what it has to do with it. I haven't got a clue. And nor does the person that said it to me. But the words, the rug has been pulled on a few occasions when they were ready to announce it, that just came up as well. So, none of this makes sense. But the whole transfer window hasn't made sense so far, really, has it? I mean, we were told that all the targets were ready, lined up and good to go. We were told about release clauses to be triggered and all this kind of stuff. But I haven't got a clue, lads. All I know is we just look foolish at the minute and the manager hasn't got what he needs. And by the way, this whole narrative that Liverpool, like David Ornstein, I don't know where they're at. I don't know where some of these journalists are at, because tonight David Ornstein said this, and I'm truly at a loss. He said, There have been no club-to-club talks yet for Liverpool and Spurs. Fair enough on that one. But he goes on to say, there have been repeated links with Spurs, but Liverpool have maintained that Cody Gakpo is not for sale. Now, I don't know what to say to that. I don't want to disrespect David Ornstein because I rate him as a journalist. I really do, and he seems like a good lad. But how anybody with a straight fucking face can say that Cody Gakpo isn't for sale is beyond me. It truly is beyond me. Because we know he's for sale for the right price. Romano's been banging on about it all summer. Manchester City are now apparently having conversations with Gakpo's agents. That was reported by multiple people today. So how all of a sudden we're supposed to again swallow this line that Gakpo isn't for sale, I don't know what to say to you. These journalists are just digging holes for themselves and making themselves look really, really silly. You know he's for sale. I know he's for sale. Everybody knows he's for sale. I'm not saying I agree with it, because I'd be more than open to Cody Gakpo staying and BARCOLA coming in. I'd be absolutely open to that because I think that would help us overall. But this is the frustration of where we're at in this transfer window. Corbyn said, I think buying BARCOLA is a problem. He's right-footed, not too comfortable on the right. Well, he's going to be playing on the left. So then putting in Rio to play that side when clearly not comfortable, think left side is a huge issue, or the right side's a huge issue. From my understanding anyway, Barcola's coming in to play on the left, and that's why Gakpo's going to be going. Because Gakpo knows he's not going to be the number one on the left-hand side. And again, we talked about this even when we were talking about Rio coming through in towards the first team. So unless something changes, I think Gakpo will become, or excuse me, BARCOLA will be coming in to play on the left. It still doesn't mean you're wrong about Rio on the right, by the way, Corbyn, because I think we'll all say he didn't look as impactful there yesterday as, you know, perhaps he does on the left-hand side. He didn't look as comfortable or as able to influence the game in a way he'd want. But I want to give Rio credit for that because he's willing to do it for the team. He's learning on the job and he's a 17-year-old player. So fair play to him on that. But I thought we looked a little bit better when Victor Munoz came on at the end. So how the squad balances out in attack, mate, I don't know. Because Connor sent me something earlier on today to give us basically, if we signed MINTEH, we signed BARCOLA, Gakpo goes and Chiesa goes, we really are short up until about October, November when he comes back in. So yeah, when MINTEH will come back in. So yeah, it is all very confusing at the minute. Sorry. Muldor said, is it bad that I think Nioni will do better than Gravenberch? He slows down defensive mindfulness, the Grav in pre-season, but it's insane to no DM. Sorry, couldn't see it with the green. Look, I look at young players and I look at them and I want to protect them. That's the way I would put this across to you. So for me, if you're going to put Trey Nioni into the first team, let it be at a time when he's got a settled team around him and it's in a game that we're in command of. I don't want Rio and I don't want Nioni to be thrown to the wolves and thrown into the first team because the owners are too cheap to back the manager. I don't like it because it puts undue pressure on their shoulders and they're forced to develop quicker than they naturally should. And I know Rio's exciting, but I think the best way to develop a talent like him is bit by bit, gradually. Not to have to throw him in the opening day of the season against Newcastle away in a position that he's probably not ready to play yet, which really gave us some headaches down the right-hand side between him and Frimpong. We were just a bit open. And I hate to hear or say these things because Rio's a 17-year-old kid about to turn 18. Same with Trey Nioni, he's a youngster. And I don't like the youngsters being asked to do senior player roles. I think they should be eased in bit by bit. So, yeah, look, I've said the same thing for years. My position doesn't change. The owners are cheap. The club at the moment seems a bit rudderless as it's a transition, but not on the pitch, if you get me. Like, behind the scenes at the minute, the club just looks like a mess. And obviously this is seeping into first team action. I know people that work at the club in all different levels from hospitality staff all the way right up to the higher side of it, and all of them say the same thing, that things at the club and even right down to the catering side of it aren't what they were, and that things feel like it's a bit leaderless at the minute, and that just is a narrative that goes through the club from top to bottom. So it's frustrating, but again, This is what happens when you don't have clarity. We don't know who's really running the club. We don't know what the sporting director future is. And here we are in a window that had 13 weeks in it in total, and we're 12 weeks into it, and we've still done the bare minimum. Man-to-man press will take time for us to learn, said Ironhead446. But it's got nothing to do with a man-to-man press in midfield, mate. That's too many people getting ahead of the ball is the problem there. It's because man-to-man press is out of possession, but in possession, we're getting people too far ahead of the ball. And I've warned about the problems that's been causing us for a long time. And again, we seen yesterday, we turned over possession twice in their half of the pitch, and we conceded 2 goals from it. Now, I agree with Andoni Iraola that absolutely there's no way that Johan Visa should have gotten past Dominic Szoboszlai in the centre circle. That there's no way that tackle shouldn't have been made. Dom should have got in there and stopped that counter, either by winning a tackle or by fouling him. So in that sense, yes. And I agree with David Lynch on that as well, by the way. David Lynch was saying Liverpool had a +1 in that circumstance, and he's right. There was missed tackles in there, but it still all comes from Liverpool turning over possession and not having enough people behind the ball. Carragher's been screaming about it for a really long time at the club as well. Around the club. So Carragher saying this about what to do with Florian Wirtz. He said, I've been seen as critical of Florian Wirtz maybe last season. This thing that it takes players a year to settle into the Premier League, I think it's a bit of a myth. When I see people say he's got to be a number 10, that means Szoboszlai has to be in the team's central midfield. He's not a central midfield player. I thought this would come up in 6 weeks. I think it's coming up right now. I don't see where he fits in at all. You can't keep going with it. So yeah, look, whatever the balance is, we're going to have to find it. However, Andoni Iraola is going to find it. And I'm absolutely not going in on the manager at this point because, because he's in the door and he's learning and he's implementing his style onto the team. But again, if you don't have the right profile of player, you can do so much with coaching. But if you haven't got a naturally defensive-minded midfield option, it's going to keep causing us these problems. And if our midfielders or Wirtz keep turning over the ball cheaply in the opposite end of the pitch, we're going to end up in trouble. Nick said, I'm glad those journos and top reds are here to tell us we don't need a DM, because at the moment I thought my eyes worked. Guess I need an eye test. It's crazy. And I don't understand why they do it, Nick. Because what are they gaining from going to bat in this situation for the club's lack of going out and strengthening? Like, I don't understand it. It's much easier. If I was in their shoes, I'd just keep my mouth shut rather than getting into conversations on Twitter trying to justify the fact that the same problems we had last year are still there and will still be there. I don't understand what they're doing. Like, why fight the club side on this when they're wrong? Everybody in the dog knows they're wrong. The club knows they're wrong, but the club's too cheap because they didn't sell McAllister. That's what the journalists should be honestly saying to you. That they wanted to sell Macca, they didn't do it, and now we're suffering the consequences of the fact that nobody came in for Macca. That's how I see it anyway. I don't know about you guys, but that's the issue in midfield for me. And with regard to the attack, it's just a piss take. It's a piss take. That here we are with a week to go in the window and we're still trying to get announcements of deals and get players over the line. So again, all day we were told that there was going to be conversation between Liverpool and Brighton over Yankuba Minta, but nobody knows where we're at with that one yet. It's pretty straightforward. Like, they want 70, we're at 60. So you either try to meet them in the middle, and if they reject that, you go to the number or you don't. But you got to move on. You got to get it done quickly, because every day at this point is a day, and Donny's losing with these guys on the training ground. It's a day that we're taking longer to get up to speed, and it's a day that we're putting more pressure on young Rio. So we just need to get bodies in. I don't want Liverpool fans to be getting frustrated and having a pop at Rio Engamoa because the club are so cheap. And I want to protect the younger players. As a fan, I want to see those guys protected and not thrown to the wolves. Like yesterday, a good example, when James Pearce put out his piece on The Athletic that, in my opinion, misrepresented what Andoni Iraola was saying. You could go on to X very quickly and you could see the amount of aggression and the amount of toxicity towards Andoni Iraola, saying things like, oh, well, if he doesn't think we need a DM, he'll be gone by January. or he's clueless. And I'm thinking, you're giving out about the manager for something he never said that The Athletic and a few other journalists have, in my opinion, misdirected fans on. It's crazy. Because if I did that, if I came on here, did a stream with you guys, and I titled the stream, and Donny Ariola says we doesn't need a midfielder, and I read it, the quote that he read it, you'd be very quick to say to me, Craig, you didn't say that. And you'd be right. So how is this any different? He didn't say what they're saying that they said. He never said we don't need a DM. All he talked about was, in that moment with Gravenberch, how he thinks we could have dealt with the situation differently. In no way does that say we don't need a DM. But that's what they ran with. And that's what has the fans gaslit today, and so many people having a pop it on Donny. And it's bullshit, and it's unnecessary. In fairness, is Rio is a right winger. No, he's not. Rush the cop. Rio's a left winger. So, Rio said himself he prefers the left. He's happy to play on the right. He's learning to play on the right. But he's a left winger. Coleman said, you said the BARCOLA deal is done, just got here. So yeah, just to repeat, what I said was, the information that we were told today was that the BARCOLA deal is all agreed, has been agreed for a while, and PSG are dragging their heels on letting Liverpool go ahead, make the announcement to bring him in. And when I pushed for a reason for it, they said something to do with tax they don't understand. And then they gave me an example of when Gianluigi Donnarumma signed for Manchester City from PSG. That deal was agreed 2 weeks before it was announced, and it got announced on deadline day. Now, I don't know why it took that long, because I wasn't covering the Gianluigi Donnarumma deal at that point, because it's not a Liverpool deal. But apparently that was done 2 weeks in advance of PSG finally signing off and letting the player sign for City. So maybe that's why Romano keeps saying it'll be done, but it'll be done late. Because from my understanding, and I've never said this to you guys till tonight, I've actually pushed back against people who said, I've been told it's done. I've always said to you, that's not the information that I have. I've been told it will be done. But now I'm being told it is done. It's agreed, everything. From the club to club side, from the player to Liverpool side, all agreed. But the delay is on the PSG side, and nobody seems to know justifiably why, except something about tax. And again, maybe there's somebody that can explain that to me, because I haven't got a clue what it is, nor can I find a justifiable reason for it. And yeah, I could have just not said this to you. It would have been easy for me to just sit on it and just say to you, no, it's going to get done, it's going to get done. But I've always promised you honesty, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm telling you what we've heard from people who I would absolutely be happy to stake my reputation on their word. So after that, it is what it is, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. Like, I wish I could tell you it's delayed because X and Y, and it's going to happen on Friday, or it's going to happen blah, blah. All I can say to you is, and I'll kind of paraphrase what I'm reading. I'll read the message to some extent because I don't want to give too much away, but one sec. So, they've been told, journalists, multiple times, it'll get done any day, and then the rug keeps getting pulled. The deal is agreed on all sides. It's just a case of signing it off. And then I asked, has anybody got the numbers around it? And he said, no, the numbers won't be released until it's signed off by both clubs. And then apparently it's a tax thing. I went and asked a little bit more about it. And then he brought up the Gianluigi Donnarumma thing and said it was agreed 2 weeks before, went through on deadline day. But again, nobody knows why. That's it. Like, that's where I'm at with it. But yeah, I'm open to any comments on it or pushback or thoughts on it. But what I'm not open to is being just called a liar flat out, because I'm not. That's the only part I'll push back on. But again, I'm frustrated because it doesn't make logical sense to me why it would be delayed. It just feels unnecessary. Also, there was talk of PSG tonight looking at another guy as a replacement for Ibrahim Mbaye. Now, I'm not saying this is in any way Liverpool related, because I don't know where we're at with our interest in Ibrahim Mbaye versus the Yankuba MINTEH stuff. So I really don't know on that. But this report from Tanzaloik says PSG are targeting Adil Hamdani, from Lyon to fill a possible departure of Ibrahim Mbaye. So after that, lads, I don't know. I've never even heard of that young lad, but that's apparently who PSG are looking at if they lose Ibrahim Mbaye. Craig, I feel as if people are getting super harsh on Wirtz. It's only been one game. I agree that he hasn't been good enough, but to write off a player from one game is just insanity. So obviously I can't speak for everybody on it, mate, but I can speak for me. I'm not writing him off, not at all. I think I've probably been one of his biggest defenders, but I think it's fair to say that he has to start delivering this season, as does Isak. I mean, it's very rare I agree with Gary Neville, but I absolutely agree with what he said on his podcast, and I think it's more than fair of him. He said the media, we, have been kind to Wirtz so far, and Isak, and he's not wrong. Like, they haven't been taking cheap shots, they haven't gone in on both of them, but I do think he's right to say that it's time for them to step up. It is, both of them. And yes, some of it is to do with players in and around and movement, but, you know, Wirtz just doesn't look like he's up to the speed mentally. Like, it just feels like everything with him is just a little bit off. A bobble here, a miscontrolled ball there, a slight pass off here. And if you're turning over possession as well, then of course that leads to more pressure on the defence. So the whole thing feels like there's a lot that needs to be fixed. Obviously, as a fan, I want Wirtz and Isak to work. But I got to be honest and say I can understand some of the pushback from people, because that's £250 million, lads. 250 million quid almost on those two. And the fans and the media, and I call out the media for a lot of stuff. You know me, I'm not afraid to call them out. But I think they have been fair with Wirtz and Isak. And I think fans have been fair as well. So as I said, I'm not going to sit here and say he should be sold. I'm nowhere near that. But I do think that he has to step up now. And he has to start to show why we paid the money for him, and so does Isak. Hamoudi said Iriola needs to push for DM or one on loan. So there were a few options that could be looked at in a realistic price point, like Kema Andres that we've spoken about before. But I don't know, mate, why seemingly we're doing very little in that department. I give you my opinion. I think it's because they didn't sell McAllister, but after that, you know, how am I supposed to, as a fan, feel like this club is serious about winning? Because we dropped 2 points yesterday, and you think, okay, surely that's a wake-up call, because we kind of got away with it with the penalty at the end yesterday. You can talk about the game and its totality, totality, that's the one. And I thought a draw was probably a fair result, but we got a penalty late at the end. Szoboszlai tucked it away brilliantly. It's it's confusing to me how either the club... I don't even believe the club don't think we need a DM. I just think that's the narrative they're pushing out to justify why it's not happening. But I can't believe serious footballing people look at the team and don't think we need that type of profile of a midfielder. We do. Adam said, with Plettenberg saying we'll sign 2-3 players and 2 of them BARCOLA and MINTEH, for me the third should be a right back. Frimpong is just not good enough in a back four. For me, the midfield can be improved with some tactical tweaks. Look, I didn't want to come on and have a pop at Frimpong either, to be honest with you, but I can't push back on it. He played a great game against Como, and we all gave him the credit he deserved for that. But yesterday again, and it wasn't just him, both of our fullbacks were pretty poor yesterday. And the crossing in from the left-hand side in particular was piss poor. And Frimpong just doesn't give us the balance defensively. And I've been somebody who's always said, I don't know why we signed Jeremy Frimpong. And I didn't say it from a point of view of he's just not good enough. We just don't have a natural position for him in the way that we play. And that's been my question mark about why he was signed. It feels like another one of those opportunistic, you know, can fill a couple of roles but isn't a specialist type of signing. And it's now looking foolish again. Because if you're playing that and you don't have a natural right back there in Frimpong, and then you have a young right winger ahead of him, it's going to leave space. Naturally, like, it's going to happen. You might look good in attack with Frimpong and the overlap and stuff, but again, when you're turning over possession, there's a big gap in behind there, and teams just need to plug one in behind and have somebody with the pace of like an Alanga or somebody to get in. It's crazy. What are your thoughts on Rio? I do worry if we sign two wingers. BARCOLA's a left winger, and we're blocking Rio a bit. Don't think he works on the right. So I don't think signing BARCOLA is blocking Rio. I think Rio should be gradually put into the first team. Same with Trey Leone. I get he's an exciting talent, but there's not many players in the world in a team as big as Liverpool at that age playing every week. There just isn't. Unless you're a Yamin Lamal or somebody like that. Very, very few. And it's also pretty clear that although Rio has all the talent and all the future ahead of him, there are things that he's not at the level at yet. And that's okay, because he shouldn't be at the level yet. But the question then comes with, how does that impact the club? Because developing him is one thing, but when you're developing a young player or a couple of young players, there are going to be mistakes. There are going to be things that they don't do as well as a senior pro who's been around a bit longer. And then you've got to try and strike the balance between remaining competitive, progressing the young player through, and protecting them. And it's the protecting in part at the minute that I feel like the club aren't doing. Because there's a scramble and a rush to play him because we don't have anybody else. And I just don't think he's ready yet. But it's not because I don't think he's good enough. I think it's because he's 17 and he's learning his trade. And again, if we're going up against a Real Madrid, a Paris Saint-Germain, a Barcelona in the Champions League at the latter stages, we're going to need experience. We're going to need people with big match experience as well. And I don't think we should be throwing youngsters like Rio to the wolves just because we haven't got other bodies in. That's my fear, because I want Rio Engamoa to be a superstar at this club, but I want him to be developed gradually, bit by bit, and not thrown into the deep end out of desperation. David said, hey Craig, if we don't sign a DM, our season is foot. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I would agree with the people that say we can make improvements in Iriola's system. I agree with that. My pitch here would be get rid of Gravenberch out of the 11 and put Maka in alongside Szoboszlai. That if you're looking for a balance, that's a better balance for me of what we have, trying to think defensively as well. So I'd prefer to see Maka in there with Szoboszlai if they're going to work on this, figuring out the balance stuff. I think with Gravenberch, it's just a no for me in that regard. And I'd also love to know why he didn't pull the trigger and shoot yesterday when he was on the edge of the box. Like, it seemed like a very obvious place to take a shot from, and somehow he still was looking to the left end. So his natural instinct wasn't to pull the trigger, which you'd want your midfielder to do in that advanced position. Red Rose, how are you, my friend? Said, don't like the idea of GAKPO going to City, but if the club wants to sell him out of interest, is there a player in City you'd do a swap with? Yes. We had this conversation earlier on, actually. I'd love to know the chat's thoughts on this as well, by the way. But is there a player at City? Yes. I'd take Marmoush in a heartbeat. And look, there's a couple of things. You're going to say he's on 300 grand a week. That's fair enough. But I would bring in Marmoush because he can be that utility forward that we've spoken about quite a bit. You could also look at the guy that's going to Newcastle that they're in conversation with. You could look at him as an option as well. They're the two that, if you were looking to do a part exchange thing, would pop into my mind. But ultimately, I'm probably with you, Red Rose. I'd rather not sell to Manchester City. Because it feels weird saying that here, Manchester City, you can have this international winger that we are casting off. It just feels, what are they seeing that our club aren't seeing? So for me, the ideal scenario would be forget about the other winger. Just get BARCOLA in and don't bring in a Yankuba MINTEH, but keep Cody Gakpo. And also, I would demand a pretty penny now for Gakpo if I'm Liverpool. If I'm Liverpool, I'm going to say I want something like this kind of 85 million for Cody Gakpo. Because look at what Manchester City just got for Savinho. So yeah. Someone said Marmoush is done now. I don't know, Niaro. I don't really keep tabs Manchester City's business. I think it was supposed to be getting done today, but honestly, I don't know, mate. I haven't really kept tabs of where City are at with their deals. I'm just answering it because somebody asked me as a hypothetical. Right, so do you agree with our esteemed journalists covering the club that Liverpool do not need a DM? 81% of people said no, they don't agree. 19% of people said yes. Let me ask the question at right back. I want to ask, which position is more important for you, DM or right back? Because it seems in the chat tonight, some people think we can help out in midfield, we can find a balance there, but right back's an issue. And then other people think we can sort right back, but midfield's an issue. So I want to ask which one you think is more important. Okay, so which area, 1 second, where are you gone? So which area is more important to get a signing in, midfield or right back? So poll in the chat there now, have a vote on it, and we'll check back in on it in a few. Right, I'm going to fly through a couple of chats, then I'm going to get into the news because I'm aware I haven't even gotten into that point yet, so bear with me. Chad said, after seeing the product on the pitch yesterday, I'm sure clubs can smell the desperation. I just hope that doesn't encourage premium price for sales clubs are negotiating with. So I think, Chad, the idea of getting a bargain is probably out the window at this point. You know, we're pretty deep into the transfer window, and you know, if clubs aren't looking to sell a player, they're rightly going to ask about getting a replacement for themselves, and that, of course, will take some time. So, yeah, I don't know, mate. You know, there's no defending this window. There's no defending Richard Hughes' windows, full stop. You know, you've got Carragher saying that the transfer window last year, where we brought in Isak, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kirkes, he's saying that could be the worst window in Premier League history. Like, that's a big statement to make from Carragher. But I understand where he's coming from, because that window hasn't paid dividends yet and doesn't look likely to pay dividends in the very short term. So I get where he's coming from, and it hurts to hear it as well as it hurts to talk about it, because it's a lot of money and it hasn't exactly borne any success outside of Hugo, who's unfortunately injured. But Hugo's probably the one you'd say that we brought in that, you know, hit the ground running and looks comfortable and looks like, you know, he should be here. The rest of them, they're taking their sweet time. Paperwing said, there's something wrong at our club. There really is, mate. There is. It's, you know, from simple things like the contract situation and the amount of players who are running them down. The club took their eye off the ball there. They're trying to bring, like, how many DMs have we tried to bring in now? We tried to bring in Caicedo, Zubamendi, Lavia. All of those failed. You know, then we went and tried to sign Diamonde, got led down the garden path for that. And here we are now, and about to go to the final week of the window. And all we've done is get Ronald Araujo on loan and trigger a release clause for Munoz. That's it. There is no... There's no defending it. There's no rationale for it. There's no logic to it. It's a shit show. And unfortunately, we're going to suffer the consequences of it as fans again, and the team are. Exposure said left back's more important than right back. Kirkes is trash. I mean, I'm not at the point of saying Kirkes is trash. I understand why you're saying we could do it left side as well, because even if I'm saying I think Kirkes will improve, I still don't think Costas is good enough. And I also, again, know Costas' contract's up in a year, so what's going to happen there? We're going to renew him, because that won't be a good decision. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from, mate. I think right back for me is one that I don't see the upside of, because Kirkes, I think, can improve. But I just don't see it with Frimpong because he's not a right back. He's a wing back. Craig, I've seen a report from Liverpool page saying Bajcetic and Liverpool are looking at terminating his contract to go back to Spain. Yeah, I covered that a little bit earlier on, Justin. Bear with me, bro. Because it certainly has been discussed, yeah. I was reading through the Echo earlier on and their live blog. They had something, and I'll read it out exactly as it's written. Stefan Bajcetic's deal. Celta Vigo want to re-sign Stefan Bajcetic from Liverpool, but need him to terminate his contract early with the Reds. That's according to Spanish newspaper Faro de Vigo, which reports that the La Liga side wants the midfielder to return to his boyhood club. Speaking of a potential deal, Celta Vigo's head coach said, if he's happy, we can reach an agreement. It will be a good situation. I'm not thinking about that right now. He's a homegrown player. I don't talk about players we don't have. So, yeah, they certainly seem to be interested and they certainly seem to be looking at it, but I couldn't tell you where Liverpool are at with it. If my memory's right, I think he's in his final year. I think he's one of the players in his final year. Jack said, if you were picking your realistic top four after the weekend, who would be in it? Chelsea winning 3-1 currently also. God, who would be in it? I don't know. Like Arsenal, they'd be in there definitely. City, I wasn't convinced by, and I don't think they're going to be a major force this year. But again, it's very difficult to say that with one game being played in the league. I'd probably go something like Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, probably City. I think they probably will get their act together at some point, but I think it's hard to say that with any level of confidence, even throwing our name into the mix there, because our squad, as we've seen yesterday, is paper thin. The bench wasn't exactly stacked, so yeah, I don't know, mate. The only ones I'd feel really comfortable saying there is I think Chelsea will do it and I think Arsenal will do it. But outside of that, I think we're in a fight to make it ourselves. Right, now, I want to just go back for a second, folks, and talk about Jamie Carragher and Florian Wirtz and how he's unhappy with the situation. He said, the thing with Florian Wirtz is I don't think we're seeing a massive underperformance. I think what we've seen for a year is probably what he is, which is neat and tidy footballer, not a player who should be worth £110 million, somebody who should be 50, 60 million, somebody like that, neat and tidy, lovely touch. He went on to say, what to do with Wirtz? I've been critical of Florian Wirtz maybe last season. I've been seen as critical of Florian Wirtz maybe last season. This thing that it takes players a year to settle in the Premier League is a bit of a myth. When I see people say he's got to be a number 10, that means Szoboszlai has to be in the team in central midfield. He's not a central midfielder. I thought this would come up in 6 weeks. I think it's coming up right now. I don't see where he fits in at all. You just can't keep going with it. So, yeah. So Carragher's calling it out and has been for a while. Fans are calling it out and have been for a while. But again, somehow our esteemed journalists seem to think that, you know, fans are obsessed with DMs on Twitter. Just obsessed with it. Not the fact that we know what we're looking at and the balance isn't there. It's just, I don't understand why they don't just say what needs to be said, which is, of course, we need a midfielder with the right profile to help Andoni Iraola out. You know, we do. And I don't really disagree with Carragher. You know, it's hard to sit here and say that I can see all the reasons why we signed Florian Wirtz. Yeah, I can't. I can have hope that he gets better, and I know that he is a good footballer, but, you know, I don't know what else to say at this point. Like, it's getting awkward now to just keep trying to not go in on somebody, because I don't want to go in on a player at our club. I don't want to unless there's absolute necessity to do so, but it's getting so much more difficult to justify why we're not seeing any type of improvements from him and from Isak. Kevin John said, I agree, Wirtz is messing the balance of the team. They've tried to fit him in the team, it's not worked. That's fair. We've tried him on the left, we've tried him in the 10. I think One thing I did see, and I think I agree with, is he probably needs to be closer. He needs to be almost playing as a second striker to be in and around Isak a bit more. But again, I don't really know whether being critical of Isak is fair, because is it the service to him? Is it his movements? Because it's not like we're seeing him missing 6, 7, 8 chances a game. He's just not getting chances now. If that's because of his own movement or because of the players around him, could be a bit of both. Bison said, if you had the choice, would you keep GAKPO and get BARCOLA and the Jones money and the DM and possibly a versatile fullback? Yes, I would. Now, look, I have to admit, I'm saying that. I take BARCOLA, keep GAKPO, but you still have to find a balance there somewhere. Because what we're looking to do now, and I'm working off the obvious stuff, the bids that have gone in, what we seem to be looking to do is get MINTEH in to solve the right side on a longer term. And if we kept GAKPO and brought BARCOLA in, I don't know who goes to the right side regularly, other than, again, keep trying to force Rio or Victor Munoz to go there. Because with MINTEH, it would be a more natural thing, albeit after the 8 or 9 weeks when he's back fit. So I would do it, but it would also, I can also understand the logic of the way they are doing it. You know, you could say something differently. Like, you could say, don't sign BARCOLA and go get MINTEH, or, you know, move bigger for a Rayan or somebody if you want somebody that is bona fide a natural right-sided player. So, yeah. Look, I hate that we have to have these debates, and I hate that we're all trying to figure out the logic of the insanity that is Liverpool's transfer business, because it doesn't make for logical thinking. Can you give us an update? Just come in. I think I've probably covered it since then, to be fair, but I will go back over everything in a second. Liverpool looking at wingers coming in and going. We sold Jones and seem to have no plans to replace him. Midfield / squad was already thin enough. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite on the Jones thing. I am more than happy to give Neoni that opportunity to take the Jones minutes. But I would be a liar if I said I wouldn't mind seeing that Jones money reinvested into another defensive midfield option, because then you just give yourself more options. Just give yourself more options in the middle of the park. So yeah, I get it, but I'd be a liar if I said I expected that to happen. I never. Once Jones was sold, I thought that money would just be offset and that Neoni would step up into those minutes gradually. Yeah, that's what I expected. But again, I don't say that you're wrong. I just never expected it of the club, because kind of knew it wasn't going to happen. Coleman said, we believe in you, mate. It's, again, look, what makes me laugh about this stuff is I could just sit on it and not say anything. You know, it would be easier for me to just keep saying, yeah, don't worry, it's going to get done. You know, there's only downside for me when I tell you what I told you about BARCOLA, because all it does is bring out the dickheads from under the rocks to have a pop at me. But I want to be honest with you, because I want to have you to have the most information, or as up-to-date information as I have. But I have to make sure that it's credible before I feel comfortable in saying it. Right, sorry, got more to go. Chad said, Craig, it's way too long to explain, but if you Google the tax implications for French teams selling to English, it explains it. Cool. Well, yeah, so look, if you're coming in late and you're wondering what the BARCOLA situation is, the information that I was given today from people that I am absolutely happy to put my reputation on the line for said everything is done and agreed. The fee is agreed, the player side is agreed, the club, everything is agreed and has been agreed for a while. And Liverpool are at a loss to figure out why they're not getting the go-ahead to push it through. What was said to me, and I read it out earlier on, was that it was a similar situation when Paris Saint-Germain sold Gianluigi Donnarumma to Manchester City, that deal was agreed 2 weeks before it was announced, and for some reason, tax implications were brought up. It was delayed till the end of the transfer window to transfer deadline day. After that, I don't know, folks, because I'm not a French tax specialist. I don't understand the logic. I understood the logic of PSG wanting to get their players in before they sold BARCOLA. Of course, I understood that logic. But I'm at a loss in this one. And again, I know journalists who've been told 2 or 3 times now to be ready. And then last minute, something changes from the French side. But again, I can only tell you what I know, and I can only tell you what I don't know. Worried Iriola saying we could have won, slot PTSD. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night actually when I was watching his interview. I kind of get where he's coming from. I don't think he's trying to say we could have won because we dominated the game. I think he's more talking about the chances created in the game. And I can see where he's coming from, albeit I don't think we deserve to win the game. I think a draw was probably fair on the balance of it. But if you think back, like Wirtz had a shot in the first half that forced a decent save from the keeper. So I kind of get where he's coming from. But at the same time, I also get where you're coming from. But I don't think he's at the level of delusion yet where, he's saying some of the stuff that Arne said. I think he's just trying to put an upbeat spin on something that is still a work in progress. If you thought I called you a liar, upset you in any way, I apologise. Can tell you it was not my intention to upset or offend you again. I'm sorry. Dude, every night of the past week, no matter what we're talking about or say, you come in and say, I've said this all the way through. The club aren't signing anybody. The club is in sale. The BARCOLA deal isn't happening. And I just don't understand the need for it. Because fair enough if you don't think it's going to happen, but coming in every night, super chatting the same thing or commenting the same thing, knowing that I'm going to come back and say, but it is going to happen. I just don't understand the aim of it. Don't want to fall out with anybody, but I get it. You're in a negative mindset in the transfer window, and that's fine, dude. That's absolutely your opinion, but all I can tell you is I disagree with it, and I disagree on the idea that we're not going to get BARCOLA or any more players. I disagree with it because I believe we will. I don't know what else I can say, mate. I think we need a player like Angelo Stiller, said Soul Salmon. Again, somebody who would be gettable. I know his release clause expired. I think that expired after the World Cup or something, but I do think they'd still negotiate around him. And I think he wanted to move this summer, but for some reason it didn't come about. Nobody seemed to put their money down on the table for him. And it wouldn't even be an overly expensive one. I'd say you'd probably get him less than 50 million euro, probably. Sholaby said, last year money wasn't spent well, no smart moves. I mean, I totally understand your point there. The one that really got me last summer, and the one that I just don't understand is Isak. Not because, again, I don't think Isak's good enough, but if you've got Ekitike, and it's not like we signed Ekitike for 25 million. We spent the guts of 70 odd million on him. So you've brought in a really high profile, good young striker to go and then drop another £125 million on Isak. Just felt like somebody at the club wanted Isak and they were on a fucking mission to get him. And it didn't matter what the numbers were. Logic went out the window. So I get it, and I can't make peace with that in my own head, because the logical thing to do there would have been to bring in somebody else that was either secondary or that was going to complement the attack in another way. I really don't understand it. It just feels like, again, somebody got a hard on for certain players and we're paying whatever, because we overpaid for Isak, we overpaid for Wirtz, and again, that's okay if they come in and do great. We all forget very quickly about the overpayment, but when they don't do well, the pressure mounts. And especially when it is a window that we hadn't really seen the likes of at Liverpool, where we broke the British transfer record twice, that comes with its own added pressure. It does. Whether we want to admit that or not, it does. Because everybody's looking out for you then. You've got a target in your back. You're going to be laughed at, mocked at, and ridiculed if you don't start to play and do well. So, yeah. Again, for me, there wasn't much logic around that, but it's hard to be angry about it as a fan as well when you're thinking, holy shit, we just got Ekitike and Isak and Wirtz and the left back that we've been calling for. So I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't delighted with the window. I was, but we didn't finish it because we still left ourselves short at centre back, and that came back to bite us in the arse. Hamoudi said, no DM, maybe the solution is to play Trey and Gravenberch in midfield, Szoboszlai in front of them, and use Wirtz as a number 9 until Ekitike is back. I don't know, would he have the movement of a number 9? Maybe you could play him as a Bobby type number 9. But again, you have to have a very tight front unit on the same wavelength for that to work. Either that or occasionally you operate Wirtz in off the left. But yeah, I get where you're coming from, mate. I've even seen people making a shout to play Szoboszlai at right back again until we get that situation sorted out, which it feels almost weird that we're back there again. But again, I have to say I understand the logic of people saying it because we looked pretty shit at right back yesterday. Paul said, passive defending, backing off, doing my head in. Oh, Paul, I'm with you, bro. I was screaming at that yesterday. Like 5 lads around the situation with Johan Visa. And nobody puts not only a challenge in, not even a body check. Just stop the attack. For fuck's sake, like, just stop the attack. I don't care if you have to take a yellow card for the team. Just stop the attack. It's not rocket science. And how nobody thought to step forward in that moment and do that, I'm baffled. Because that was us defending last year all over again. And it's insanity. We just looked a mess. And we looked again, as you said, Paul, very passive, which we hadn't done in pre-season. And that's the part that really just confuses me. Because in pre-season, I remember time and time again talking about our centre-back stepping up, winning the ball high, whether it was Ndukwo, whether it was Ndai, whether it was Van Dijk when he came in, they were doing it. So yesterday, for some reason, we reverted to type, and it's frustrating. Jaden, hey bud, how are you? Family Connor, and congrats, Adam. Oh, yes, thank you. So on Adam, let me give you an update on Adam. I put this into the WhatsApp earlier on. So Adam came runner-up in the World Championship. I need to give you a bit of a background story on this. So the way the Amateur World Championships take place is all the fights are done over one day. So Adam had 6 fights, and he made his way to the final, where he lost to a guy from Uzbekistan that had won the World Championship the previous 2 years at the weight below and moved up a weight this year. So Adam's obviously disappointed that he didn't get the gold, that he didn't win it. That was his goal gone over, which speaks, of course, his great mindset. But I know how proud of him we all are, and his parents are, of course, as well, because, he's runner-up in the world again. So just wanted to give you guys that update on him. Obviously, he's a little bit devastated that he didn't achieve his aim of going over there to win the World Championships, but coming second and losing to a guy who's cleaned up 2 years in a row at the weight below, that's no disgrace whatsoever. And we're incredibly proud of him, and we're incredibly proud to be part of this little journey with him. And, we'll see what the next step is. And of course, when we know what he's going to do next, we'll let you guys know. We think there's a couple of fights in the near future for him. But yeah, just an update on that one, as I said. And thank you to everyone who supported him as well. 08 said, Wirtz is a great footballer, but at the minute he is way too laid back. I don't think he understands what means fully to play for Liverpool. I think something that Neville said stuck with me, and he said that him and Isak are too nice. And I get what he means by that, because you have to have a bit of a bastard in you. So I get it. I very rarely agree with Gary Neville, but I agreed with him yesterday when he was talking about the situation with Wirtz and Isak and the fact that the media had kind of backed off them a little bit. I get what he means by too nice as well. You kind of have to have that dog in you, don't you? So yeah. Someone said, who's Adam? Adam's a young MMA fighter that we sponsor, and the community have been really supportive of as well. Has won multiple European Championships, multiple Irish titles, and is now a 2-time World Championship runner-up. So yeah, that's who Adam is. Jack said, hey Craig, watching Chelsea, impressive what Alonso has these players fully bought in and behind him. Lewis Kumas, shades of Steve McManaman. Yeah, I mean, there was a lovely quote from Lewis Kumas actually yesterday that I wanted to just read out to you guys again because I loved reading it and it was so lovely to hear. By the way, I agree. I thought Kumas looked really good when he came on, and what Alonso managed to get when he went into Chelsea is control of the footballing side of it. So he's in there as a manager. He has control over the transfers and stuff like that. Yeah, which he wasn't going to get that at Liverpool. So yeah, he's been able to implement what he wants in there. And again, I didn't watch the game today, so I don't know how Chelsea looked out there, but I know they got the win according to the chat there. So yeah, it's I guess they put trust in him. Can you just give me an update on GAKPO, please? Said the MH. Yeah, so there's a few different things doing the rounds. Let me just read out this comment from Lewis Kumas because it's really heartwarming and I just thought it was a nice thing to read out. So he was speaking about coming on, making his Premier League debut in the 78th minute against Newcastle. And he said, yeah, to be honest, this is the peak. It's quite emotional. To be honest, now that it's finally happened, it just takes me back to the very first moment when my mum was sacrificing absolutely everything to get me to any session I could be at. It's her I have to thank for being able to put myself out there. Lovely moment for the youngster, lovely moment for his family as well, and lovely from to give his mum the praise for bringing him around and making sure that he was at all the sessions he needed to be at. And that must be a beautiful moment for his family. And it was certainly a moment that, you know, I hope is the start of something for him at Liverpool, because I really like Lewis Kumas, and you know, he seems to have a great work ethic, seems to have a way about him that I think will suit Andoni Iraola. So yeah, lovely to see that yesterday. Now, to get back to what you said, my man, about the GAKPO situation, it's a weird one because you've David Ornstein saying that Liverpool's constant position has been that GAKPO isn't for sale. But then again, we know he is for sale. We know he's had conversations with Spurs. We now know he's had conversations with Manchester City. So this idea that he isn't for sale just feels wrong. Like, it just feels very, very wrong. And the first thing we seen today about this one was a report that came out of the Netherlands saying that Cody Gakpo was being monitored by Manchester City in that situation. But then DiMarzio was a little bit more clear on it, and he said Manchester City are making an attempt to sign Cody Gakpo from Liverpool and are trying to anticipate other clubs in the race. Firmano then said Liverpool will only sell Cody Gakpo if they get two wingers in the next 8 days. Priority remains Bradley Barcola. Tottenham verbally agreed terms with Gakpo since July. Man City now also in active talks with his agents. Player to decide, also based on Liverpool wingers' plans. So you've got that. Then you have Romano also saying Manchester City made contact with Cody Gakpo's camp today. Talks have started while Tottenham remain in active discussions for Cody with personal terms in place. Race on. Also he said there was a direct meeting with the agents of Cody Gakpo today as they look to hijack Tottenham. That's Manchester City. Liverpool will only sell if they sign two wingers. Absolutely on. MINTEH talks ongoing, but Liverpool also have alternatives. Then there was that report over the Netherlands that said Tottenham want to accelerate a deal for Cody Gakpo once Barcola is at Anfield. Another report from the Netherlands said Manchester City had already reached out last week to Cody Gakpo about the possibility of bringing him in. And then you get to David Ornstein saying there have been no club-to-club talks yet, even though Romano has just said there's been talks. There have been reported links with Tottenham, but Liverpool have maintained that he is not for sale. That's according to Ornstein. Now, I don't know where he's getting this not for sale stuff from, because he is. So, yeah, that's where we're at with it. And this is what frustrates me about this transfer window. It's that so many people with great reputations are way, way off on a lot of stuff this summer. This one from, again, Tanzaloik said, Bradley Barcola should become the most expensive league sale to a club outside of France as Liverpool and PSG edge closer over a deal. So again, our information is that deal is already in place, but it's just for PSG signing it off now that we're all waiting for. Again, let's wait and see, but I'm only going to tell you what I've been told, and I'm not afraid to tell you what I've been told because I trust the people that told me implicitly. They've never steered me wrong, and I don't think they're steering me wrong on this. And they've more than sourced it with more than one person. So that's where I'm at with it. But TikTok. Right, we did a poll a while ago and we said, which is the more important position to get a signing in, midfield or right back? And 77% of the people that voted said midfield, and the other 23% said right back. Daniel said, Craig, who's your favourite Irish team? Shelbourne, mate. Shelbourne. Again, though, like, I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but they'd be the club that my uncles would have brought me out to quite a bit, and the club who I look out for the results of. So yeah, Shelbourne. But I wouldn't call myself an active Shelbourne fan. O'Cock said, don't see why we don't go for Kamara. If I remember right, he's 40 million, which is basically what we sold Jones for, and I think it's an easy deal. I guess, again, without knowing the ins and outs of it, my guess is that the money from Curtis Jones is going to be used to offset the money that we're spending for the other two wide players that we're bringing in, as well as Cody Gakpo's money. Because right now, this summer, if my maths is right, I think we're on a net spend of about 65 million. If I haven't forgotten something, because we got 60 million GAKPO deal, which went on the balance sheet this summer. Then you got 35 million Munoz deal, that's 95. And then you got 30 back in for Jones. So I think we're at about 65 million net. There might be a million or something in small sales somewhere. So if Liverpool go and do the deal, let's say, and again, I'm guessing here, but let's say the price for MINTEH and BARCOLA is, I want to be optimistic on this one. Let's say even £180 million. Then you're into £245 million net, and you're going to bring back the Cody Gakpo sale, whatever that might be, call it 75. Then you're back into the 170 million net, which is still a big outlay. But what I would say is it's a big outlay because the club haven't looked after the contract situation of other players that we could have potentially sold on if their contracts weren't allowed to run down. And that when you do that, you've got to make up for that shortfall somewhere. And it's always going to be a problem that rears its head when the contract situation is allowed to get to what it got to. So there's just going to have to be money spent because there's no other way around it. Even looking at where we are squad-wise, like, who else is there to sell? There's not many, right? You could say sell Maka, bring somebody else in. Okay, maybe, fair enough that. Chiesa, how much is he going to realistically bring in? Harvey Elliott, actually, he is of interest to AC Milan, according to reports today. Let me just go back here. So Harvey Elliott is a target for AC Milan ahead of the final week of the transfer window, according to reports coming out of Italy. So let's wait and see if Ruben Amorim's side come in. Apparently they're looking for a left-footed attacker, and Elliott's name has been mentioned, but that's all I know on it. USA Copboy, how are you, bro? Said, Craig, keep up the good work. This about FSG knowing that they were selling, so they are trying to spend nothing because next season they're out. But I can only say this so many times, and I don't mean to be a dickhead about it. They're not spending their money, so it doesn't make any difference. Whatever money Liverpool Football Club spend this summer is Liverpool Football Club's debt to spend the money on. So if Liverpool Football Club have to take out a loan for it, or if they have it in the bank or whatever, it's nothing to do with FSG, and it won't impact how much they get when they sell the club. So that's why I've been pushing back on people that think that's why we're not doing business. It won't make any difference because they don't spend the money anyway. It's the club's money. So whoever the new owners are going to come in with that debt it is on the balance sheet. FSG are still going to get whatever they get for selling the club. So it actually doesn't make any sense to think that we're not doing business because they're going. Now, you can talk about it from the point of view of we're leaderless and nobody's really steering the ship. That's a different conversation. But it's got nothing to do with less money or more money to go into their pocket, because that's pretty much set in stone with the agreement that they have with 1892 Holdings for the £6 billion valuation. They've already put £2 billion in their back pocket. So, yeah, that's not the reason why we're not spending or we're not doing business. The reason is because the club's a fucking mess. And that is on their watch, by the way. Carbon said, and by the way, USA Copboy, that was not a pop at you at all, my man. I totally get where you're coming from. I'm just trying to explain to you that it's not FSG's money that Liverpool spend. It's Liverpool's money. So it doesn't make any difference. Like if Liverpool spend 300 million this summer, it wouldn't make the money FSG get for the club 300 million less, if you get me. Carbon said, hey Craig, how are you? If Wirtz doesn't step up, Dom needs to go to the 10. Mackin grabs the CDM, Barcola on the left, Rio sub in, and Wirtz comes in as a sub till he gets his act together. Oh, it's a big call that though, isn't it? Like, this is where the price tag probably weighs heavy on my thinking, because if it was any other player and he wasn't a £115 million player, I'd probably be agreeing. And I'd probably be saying, yeah, get that guy onto the bench, push Dominic Szoboszlai into the 10, and let's make this work. But God, that's a big call to make, isn't it? That's a big call to make, because look at it whichever which way you want. You're devaluing the asset if you're then looking to sell him. So it's a tricky situation that the club are in right now. It really is. And this is where we have to have a bit of a leap of faith and hope that it works out, because we didn't make this decision as to who we go out and sign. That wasn't a decision that fans made. That was the decision that Richard Hughes and the recruitment team along with FSG made. They sorted out the business. They put out the plan. They went and signed the players. Now it's up to them to make this a plan that makes sense. Hi Craig, you look at how other big clubs do business, fast and precise. We really are acting like a small club. I agree. Paul, mate, I absolutely agree. We're so slow. We seem like we're nickel and diamond trying to save a few quid a lot of the time by doing deals late in the window. We've already had experience of deals late, deals backfiring and biting us in the arse. And again, you got to ask, who's leading it? You know, because Michael Edwards is gone. Richard Hughes is going. FSG have at least one foot out the door. So who's running the club? Like, who really is looking at the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years logically and thinking ahead? I don't know the answer, and I sincerely don't know the answer, but I know it's not a good look. And I know it's not filling me as a fan full of confidence that we are going in the right direction. You know, it feels like we've gone from a position where we won the league. We thought we were getting players, as Carragher said, to build a dynasty. And now everything's kind of changed. Slot got fired. FSG look like they're losing interest. And we look a bit leaderless at the minute. As I said, I speak to people inside the club, even down to the catering side of it. And they are moaning about the way the club is operating. They're moaning about the way their jobs are and the managers above them being changed. And that's all the way down to the very bottom run of the ladder. So it is a mess. City didn't want to do a swap with Alvarez and Diaz, saying we don't deal with rivals. And here they are after GAKPO. I get it, Sam. I don't understand the logic of that. And I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. For me, I don't really like clubs not dealing with each other. I'd happily deal with Liverpool and Everton. I'd happily deal with Manchester United if I was Liverpool, if it worked for our club. If it made our club stronger and better, everything should be on the table as far as I'm concerned. Look, would I prefer to sell him to Spurs or Manchester City? Probably Spurs, because I don't hate Spurs in the same way I hate Manchester City. And I think Cody's a good lad. Seems like a very nice man. Yeah, it's weird. So many times we're here thinking about this logically, trying to figure out the plan. But again, as many of you keep saying to me in the chat, there doesn't seem to be a plan. And how could you try to put out there that there's a plan when we've seen the mess it is and has been and continues to be? But do you know what keeps me awake at night, literally, is people defending the indefensible. I can't get my head around it, right? Because a lot of the people that cover the club on the patch, those journalists, are Liverpool fans, right? Not all of them, but most of them are Liverpool fans. So as a fan, I don't understand how you can look at the situation and just parrot the club's line on it without pushing back, knowing that the club you love and support isn't being ran properly and isn't doing what needs to be done. That keeps me awake at night. Because I'm used to being called everything under the sun by these people who want to just make out like we're all ranting, raving lunatics that don't use logic and want everybody gone and are just ungrateful. And I'm used to it. Doesn't make any difference to me. But it pisses me off that these people are then out there saying things like Twitter's obsessed with DMs, as if they're not right to be talking about that position. Or Liverpool fans want to become more like Chelsea and Manchester City fans. Why do that? Why say that? It's all so unnecessary and so pointless and also wrong, and they know it's wrong. It keeps me awake at night because I view that as extremely duplicitous, and I view it as extremely two-faced. I can't think of any other phrase for it than two-faced. You won't say what you really feel, what you say off camera, in front of camera or on the record, because you know it's going to affect your livelihood. That doesn't sit well with me, ladies and gentlemen, and it will never sit well with me, because I couldn't imagine being in that position, because I wouldn't allow myself to be in that position where I can't speak my mind or I can't be honest about how I feel, while at the same time trying to write pieces and sell them to the world, explaining the virtues of why the club doing this is the right thing, even though at the back of your mind, when you go to bed at night, you know it's not the right thing. That to me that's fucking low. You've heard me over the years say I hate the accounts on Twitter that are purposely misleading Liverpool fans with fake transfer stories and stuff. I don't understand it. I expect it from non-Liverpool fans because they don't have any attachment to it. But from somebody that supports the club, I expect better. I don't expect your own fan base to be misled or misinformed. And it really angers me. And as each season goes by, my dislike of these guys is going to a new fucking level, because they're just cowards, in my opinion. And they get their knickers in a twist when they get called out, and they like to think they're better than the rest of us. But ultimately, I think they're lapdogs. And I think that they haven't got a fucking spine, because they won't do what needs to be done. And if you want to represent the club's fan base and readership, you should be asking questions about glaring deficiencies in the squad, in the setup, in how the club's being run. And not doing so, I find really disingenuous. And I find it very difficult to take with a straight face while everybody else has been belittled and told they're not serious people. It's crazy. Like, maybe you guys look at it differently, I don't know. But for me, I don't get it. I don't get it. Because I've been around some of these guys and I've spoken to them off camera and I've seen them say the exact opposite when they go on the record or when they write something. It's insane. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can do that. Jury Hassan said, also really hope the BARCOLA saga come to an end. I think we all need that little joy and some anxiety to be lifted. 100%, dude. We all need that release, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more, mate. Every day I'm getting up hoping that today's the day. Excuse me. Where are we at? Done Carbon, done Paul's. I'm on Matthew's one. Hurry up Amazon and sort out the structure. F transfers. Yeah, look, I hope, and I suspect we're going to see the new investors clearing house and putting people in, because wherever you are in the I like FSG, I don't like FSG, I think we can all agree that the club have taken their eye off the ball on so many things over the last few years, from the sporting director situation to the contract situation. And that's why I kept saying, like, these guys are constantly lauded and praised for being the greatest businessmen, smartest people. Our club has been rotten from the inside out because the focus hasn't been on Liverpool like it should be. Where's the long-term strategic vision? Who's implementing it? Who's thinking about 5, 6, 7 years down the line? When you're bringing in sporting directors and they're telling you when they're coming in that they're not going to stay past the 3-year cycle, and indeed don't use the full 3-year cycle in the end, I don't get that. I don't understand the logic of that. because that role in itself is supposed to be a role that sets the club up long term, and that is the most important position that allows coaches to be changed in and out if needs be. But the structure of the club remains the same. The football and philosophy of the club remains the same. The strategy, the vision of the club remains the same. Hasn't been like that. And I get it. Like, I know. Oh, fuck. I actually have sympathy for FSG to some extent. I get that they didn't get the football world they thought they were buying into. They didn't get the FFP driven world that they thought they were buying into, that they probably correctly thought that they can outwit others, be the smartest guys in the room, and find ways to increase revenue and make Liverpool a dominant force financially that would then, with FFP being implemented, would give them the ability to do what they need to do. I get that, and I sympathise with them that they've come in and that's changed. But it has changed, and it's changed for quite a while, and you either have to adjust your plan accordingly or decide it's not for you and move out. What we're getting again is a halfway house, where they're selling off bits and pieces. But again, we've no clear vision for what's happening. We don't know what the plan is with the new investors. We don't know when FSG are going to sell out or step out. No communication. That's not a good thing. And they've tried a few things. Like, they've tried the Super League. Then there was the whole thing about the EFL clubs as well, about the parachute payments and all that shit, or Project Big Picture, I think it was called, if my memory's right. Yeah, as a fan, I'm just annoyed because they're going to make billions. Billions. But the club can't keep writing off seasons. We can't keep ghosting through with the bare minimum and hoping managers overachieve and we don't pick up injuries when our peers and our contemporaries are out there building squads. Look how quickly Arsenal have got that squad together over a few years now. A squad that has depth in every area. Maybe not through the middle in attack, but that's because they wasted money on Gyökeres. Carbon said, and I don't think we have a bad team. In my opinion, I think the guys are playing in the wrong positions where their strengths are being used properly. I just don't think we have a balanced team, is what I would say. There's definitely a lot of great footballers in it, and we're certainly not a poor squad, but it's not a deep enough squad, and there isn't some of the right profiles of player in it. The squad building hasn't been very good. You think BARCOLA gets done this week? Again, just to reiterate, my information is it is done. It's agreed. Everything. Why it hasn't been signed off and him allowed over for a medical, again, that what I heard back is something to do with a tax implication, in the same way that Donnarumma to Manchester City was done on deadline day, even though that deal was agreed 2 weeks beforehand. That's all I can tell you. And I've never said I believe it's done until today, because I only got the information today that it's done. But why PSG are dragging their heels on it and not letting Liverpool go ahead and announce it and get the medical done yet, and are dragging it till the very end, I don't fucking know. But I know it's confusing, and I know it's frustrating, and I know we all just want it to be resolved. I want to just give you guys a heads up about something if I can. If you want smaller bite-sized bits of Anfield Agenda, you know, all the watch-along clips, best moments of streams and stuff like that, you can get it by joining the Anfield Agenda Clips channel. Scan the QR code on the screen there, hit that subscribe button, and again, thank you for your support. This is something that Connor started recently, and it's absolutely flying along. So if you haven't subscribed to the Clips channel yet, you can do so by scanning that QR code or just searching Anfield Agenda Clips. Right, where are we at? Raekwon said the management doesn't know how to buy players with a tenacious personality, and it's clearly what's missing from this squad. Let's be honest, the database dummies did not know how to build a perennial title winner. So we are nice. I agree. We're probably too nice, and there's not enough. I can't use the word I'd like to use here. There's not enough dogs in the team, and we do need to be streetwise as well. Yeah, so I agree. And the data-led recruitment stuff to me is just garbage. Like, I mean, what has it? How have we benefited from it? Like, tell me a deal from the data-led recruitment that has worked really well for us and as something that wouldn't have been unearthed if they didn't have the data. Because I honestly can't think of one. Signing Isak, well, the data is not really backing up that was a great fit at the moment, is it? Signing Wirtz, we all knew the quality of the player and the potential he has, but, the data-led recruitment team leave no stone unturned and are world leaders in their fields. Well, where are the fruits of all their labour? I don't think that's a silly question to ask. Like, where is the benefits of the thing that they're supposed to be the best in the world at? Because I'm yet to see it as a fan. Ekatike, to be fair. Well, on that, I don't mean to be a bit of a dick about it, but there was an article or two written that said, statistically in the model, that Ekatike and Isak were a mirror of each other. Do you remember that article? Do you remember the bit I'm talking about? That the data model showed that Ekatike and Isak were almost a model of each other. So if the data shows they're almost a model of each other, then they either both should have worked or both shouldn't have worked. And Ekatike's been a success, and Isak still struggles to get to grips with the way we play. So, which one is it? Lewis Steele has said, will Liverpool sign a midfielder? I would be surprised if they did, but you never know with this team and the whole market opportunities and that. I have to say, he is a journalist that I do really rate, Lewis Steele. I think he's a Man City fan, if I'm not mistaken, but I do think he talks a lot of sense when he talks about Liverpool. But yeah, as he said, market opportunities, we'll have to wait and see. What's this? What's this? 1 second. Sorry, I'm reading something here just before I read it out to you guys. Who's this from? So Liverpool wanted to do a double deal for Bradley Barcola and Ibrahim Mbaye, but PSG wanted separate negotiations, so Liverpool made Barcola the priority and Mbaye started looking for other clubs. Barcola and his entourage remain confident that the transfer to Liverpool get completed. Neither side appears to be panicking over the deadline approaching. But what's this one from? It's from, okay, Loic Tanzi. Let me read this out because it's been translated. A week before the end of the transfer window, Paris Saint-Germain is far from finished with its transfer window. Luis Campos first confirmed it in Rouen on Sunday evening before the Parisian debut at the microphone in the French division. The transfer window is not over, assured the sports advisor of the Capitals club. I understand the question, but you must understand my position. It's important to defend PSG and the institution. You talked about Barcola and Mbaye. We'll see what happens. It's like that every year. I remind you of what happened last year with Gianluigi Donnarumma, who left Manchester City on September the 2nd. It was really late. The market is not over at all. It's open, even on the arrival side. If we find a good opportunity, we'll do it. Now, that pretty much backs up what I just said to you, right? So where are all the trolling little shits now that think I talk out my arse? If their sporting director is giving you the example of Gianluigi Donnarumma, which is the example that I came into the stream talking about, I was told about, and this information I've only just gotten given there, I must be some lucky bastard to keep getting these things right because, but it still doesn't make it any better. It still doesn't make it better because we still don't have the player in a Liverpool shirt, training with the team, ready to play against Nottingham Forest next weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to be reassured that the information that we're getting is on the money and all, but it still doesn't it doesn't make it any better for us as fans, does it? Leona said, "Hey Craig, how are you tonight? Got my leaving cert results. Nice one. I hope they went well for you, Leona. Got to remember my leaving cert results tonight as well. It was a good night. It was a good night. No, I'm lying to you. I was sick. I was sick and I worked tonight with my leaving cert results because I was DJing somewhere and I was unwell. I think I went out the next night. Yeah, I'm getting my junior cert mixed up, Leona, but I hope it went well for you, mate. Thoughts on Munoz in the right wing and Rio back to the left? I think the idea from Iriola is that he wants the wingers that he has to be able to play off both sides. And I'm okay with that. Look, I'm really excited by Victor Munoz. I think he's going to be a really good buy for us. I don't know, at what level he's going to be used in the team yet. I don't know. It's too early for us all. We've only had a few minutes of him in pre-season and then obviously the game yesterday. But, we made an impact when he came on. And it was so refreshing, actually, to finally watch Ref Watch and see Liverpool get backed up on a decision. Because when I looked at that penalty incident yesterday, and look, I hope you guys know that when I do talk about Liverpool, I try to be unbiased when I talk about a situation and a challenge or a red card or a penalty. I don't understand how anybody thought that wasn't a penalty. I couldn't for the life of me understand how it was even a debatable one. It was very clear that Lewis Hall went in and initiated the contact and then brought his leg across to block off the pathway. It wasn't a player sticking a leg out to run into him. He brought himself into Munoz's path and clattered into him with his knee. It was so clear, so blatant, I couldn't understand any of the arguments around it. It was a fucking nailed-on penalty. So it was good to see Ref Watch finally go, yeah, we all think it was a penalty. So I see the chat thing was clear penalty as well. Absolutely. Like, it wasn't even a soft one. It was a blatant penalty. You cannot step across and clatter into a player like that with your knee just to block him out of the way. It's a definite penalty. And what a penalty, by the way. Whew, what a penalty. Oh my days. You weren't saving that one, no matter who was in there. It was just an unbelievable penalty. We don't need BARCOLA. Wingers are not the problem. We do need pace and BARCOLA. I mean, we just do, mate. We have a real lack of pace in attack, and BARCOLA is going to open that up for us. I'm not saying we don't need other positions, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking at other positions, but we absolutely need BARCOLA because we need the pace. It's the same thing we talked about having a lack of last season, and it hasn't really changed, has it? So I think BARCOLA is going to give us options, and I can't wait. I can't wait for him to come in at this point. I'm just excited for it to happen, and I'm excited for this new look attack to start to take shape. Paul said, "Hey Craig, early I know, but I watched Chelsea game and can't help thinking if we got Alonso, we could have been playing that style of football. I think we just, again, Liverpool don't want to give away the responsibility, if you want to call it that, or they don't want a manager. They want a head coach. And Alonso's gone into Chelsea as a manager, and he has say over transfers, and he has the say over who he wants to keep and let go of. So we were never given up that much responsibility to a new coach, and we haven't wanted to do that really since Klopp left. And I don't know if that will ever change. I don't know if, let's say, Iriola's here in 5 years, if he's earned the right to then have a bigger say. You'd like to think so. But that was one of the reasons, apart from a stylistic one, that Alonso wasn't given assurances to progress at Liverpool. He was given those assurances at Chelsea. Probably because they ran out of options, really. Like, they brought in head coaches and others and it hasn't worked. So if they wanted Alonso, they were his demands and they got their man. And look how it works out for them, I don't know. They're probably going to do well this season because they only have one game a week and they've no European football. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. And I'm not overly angry about that. I wouldn't have minded Alonso at all. But I'm really excited by Iriola. What's annoying me about the Iriola stuff is that he's just not getting the backing again. And it feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you don't give the managers the tools to do their job, that they're going to come up short, or the first time that they get an injury crisis or the squad depth is tested will be shown to be deficient in a few areas. And I'm all for calling out a manager, but at this point, if anyone needs to be called out, it's the club itself and the recruitment side of it and the contractual side of it. It's a mess. Will Liverpool sign a midfielder? I've done that one already. So Tanzaloik said Ibrahim Mbaye gets further away from Liverpool and is close to joining an unknown club. So moving away from Mbaye, which is another option that Liverpool won't have on the table. So you'd have to imagine and hope that they're going to get their finger out and get the situation sorted out, whatever it is, whether it's MINTEH or not, because I keep hearing that Liverpool have options, but who are these options and when are they going to decide what they're going to do? Fernandez Pardo looks like he's going elsewhere. Obviously, Ibrahim Mbaye now, if Liverpool aren't going for him and he's going elsewhere, that's another option off the table. So I really don't know at this point. I've done that one. Soboslai on Iriola said, we're still getting to know each other, the whole team and coaching staff. We have good company together and team spirit is all that's needed to be successful. I mean, I hate these kind of empty, meaningless, wordless bullshit that the likes of Virgil comes out with. It's all empty words and it means nothing because what we see on the pitch is what matters. Talking about this being Liverpool Football Club and everybody has to have a desire to win, that should be a given. But, you know, sorry, I'm just going through some more notes here, just to see if there's bits I've missed out on. Yeah, this is all just more waffle. Romano said Tottenham reached verbal agreement with Man City to sign Omar Mamouche. Here we go. Verbal agreement done on initial loan with a clause to become active under certain conditions. Get French Football News are saying Liverpool set to submit a final bid for BARCOLA, but as I said, my information is that that's all agreed already and that's not what's causing the delay. So the gap in valuation is narrow between the two clubs. The player's confident to secure his transfer. Again, we believe it's done behind the scenes and the delay is similar to the delay with Donnarumma going to Man City. That's all. I'm going to keep saying that because that's the information we've been given and I trust the people that have given it to us. Okay, sorry. Right, let me fly through these. Smashing said, glad it's done, Craig. Thank you, but what a mess. I mean, I'll be relieved when it's announced and he's on the way out for a medical because if I was in your shoes and somebody was sitting here saying it to me, I'd have doubts about it as well. Of course I would. I always say to you, challenge everything, ask questions. And it's right to ask a question. So I totally get it. Like if I was sitting there watching a YouTuber or a Liverpool fan talking about this, I'm telling you it's done, but yet we're not seeing it done. Of course I'd understand. And I'd be asking, well, when the fuck is it going to be done? When are we going to hear about it? But I cannot, like, I could have sat on the information tonight and not told you what I got told, but I want to be as informative as I can when I think it has credibility to it. And without name dropping, I'm talking about top tier journalists here that are giving us this information. And sometimes I get the information directly. Sometimes information is shared with other people that I speak to, which they then share with me and show me the conversations. And yeah, that's where we're at. Cheap option in DM, Patrick Berg from Bodo Glimt. I follow the Glimt team close, and he's impressed both Champions League and the World Cup from Norway, or for Norway. I think Kema Andres would be a really good shout as well, mate, for a young, up-and-coming midfielder that can play in that double pivot and can play with a bit of a defensive mindset. And somebody that Liverpool have at least looked at. Why they haven't moved for one, I don't fucking know. You know, because I don't believe they don't think we need one. I mean, logic dictates we need somebody in that position. Leona said, Craig, do you see Iriola actually working out? I don't think I can answer that question at this point because it's too early. And I don't know if he's getting the support with players that he needs. You know, I feel hopeful it'll work out. I feel hopeful that he'll send us in the right direction. But if he's not given the tools to do his job, yeah, it could be messy. Have you heard anything on the decision on MINTEH? Absolutely nothing. No, zero. Like this summer, if you actually boil it down, I haven't had much information outside of BARCOLA and one or two other bits. Like I've told you when I don't know anything, like in Bay, I knew nothing on it. MINTEH, I know nothing on it. The centre-back situation, I knew very little on it. So yeah, I don't know is the honest answer. I remember earlier on in the day, I want to say it was Ben Jacobs, 1 second. Ben Jacobs on MINTEH and Liverpool, he said, with MINTEH, they held some talks over the weekend. They're deciding today, so it could change any minute. Whether they want to make a third bid, if they want to go to £70 million, it'll be a done deal according to Brighton sources. My sense, Liverpool might consider 65 million first, but that was discussed over the weekend. I think if Liverpool bid one more time, it'll almost be a final bid because they've got other options. But I don't know on MINTEH. I don't have anything on that situation. I don't have any sourcing on it, and it would be unfair of me to guess. Yeah, Coldman, I've already read that out, mate. I read it out like 2 minutes ago. And again, all I can say to you is what I've been told. I can't control what Tanza Loic says, what Get French Football News says, or anybody else says. I can only tell you what I've been told, and we can talk about that. Yeah. And again, like, going off what their sporting director said as well, he even referenced Gianluigi Donnarumma's deal with Manchester City getting done on deadline day. That was agreed 2 weeks before that deal was announced. If we brought on Nunes on Sunday, we would have won. Well, thankfully we didn't find out because he's shite. And there's a reason that nobody wants him. And it's because he's not very good. So this love affair for Darwin Nunes, who's been probably the most frustrating footballer I've seen in a Liverpool shirt, I don't understand. It's like people have had their memory wiped from the time he was here and the amount of chances that he missed. I don't know. Up to you. Like you have on. I'm glad to see the back of him. In all honesty. Why was Donnarumma delayed 2 weeks? Something to do with tax apparently, and I don't understand it. Like I said, I'm not trying to profess that I understand the logic of this. I don't. I'm just telling you what we're told in the order we're told it. And the Donnarumma deal was agreed 2 weeks before, but it only got done on deadline day. Why PSG did that? I haven't got a clue. Outside of somebody said it was something to do with tax. I haven't got a clue. Do you think our midfield will stay the same after the Newcastle game? I don't know. I don't know because the balance wasn't right. The only thing I would say is maybe you go Maka and Soboslai. Is that going to change the balance all that much? I don't know. I just think if we're playing with a 10, that's one attack-minded player. So if you have another 8, let's say, like Soboslai, and they have license to get forward. I don't think you can really afford to have both your deeper midfielders getting forward, because it's a numbers game, right? And if you turn over possession like Gravenberch did when we have players advanced, it's not rocket science to suggest that you're going to be left short in the other area. Now, in our second goal, we had plenty of bodies. The second goal we conceded was more a case of people just not doing their job, making the tackles or stopping the counter attack. That wasn't a numbers thing because we had bodies there. That was just the lads failing in that moment, to be honest with you. But it still doesn't change the fact that we all feel the balance isn't right in the midfield. Right, where are we at? Right, I'm going to go and record the news update video, folks. I didn't even realise it was this late. So yeah, look, I'll try and summarise everything if you're coming in late for the late video. I'll talk about the BARCOLA situation, what we've been told. I'll recap it all. I'll go through a few new bits we have as well. And we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Connor will be here in the morning with his news video. I'll be here at about 4:45. And then we'll be here tomorrow evening as well at 8:45. Tiger Valley, did I miss your super chat about Munoz, mate? One sec, bro. No, I didn't miss it, mate. I read it out. I read it out because I said to you, when I read it out, I said about either of them playing on the right, both of them maybe on the left. So I definitely didn't miss it, mate. I think you just missed me talking about it. Look, ladies and gents, appreciate you. Thank you for dropping in.